Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Friends, before going into the details of the war, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Please support by subscribing and turning on the notification bell. We are a strong community. 650,000 Ukrainians work in Poland under simplified procedure. Official Poland's Minister of Family and Social Policy Marlena Maląg has said that the fact that 650,000 Ukrainian citizens now work in Poland under the simplified procedure is good news, Gazeta Prawna reported. She said that the unemployment rate in Poland has fallen to 5.1% in September. This is the second lowest rate in the EU, after the Czech Republic. According to preliminary estimates, there may be about 3.5 million Ukrainians in Poland today, including 1.5 million people who arrived after the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. In March, Poland adopted a law on assistance to Ukrainians, which provides a number of benefits for those fleeing the war in Ukraine. Iran seeking nuclear help from Russia in exchange for weapons. CNN weapons trade between Russia and Iran has expanded significantly in the last several months, worrying members of the global community. According to U.S. intelligence officials, Iran is angling for Russia's help in fortifying its nuclear program in return for supplying weapons for the war with Ukraine, CNN reported on Friday. Iran has been attempting to acquire additional nuclear materials from Russia, as well as get help with nuclear fuel fabrication, sources told CNN. The fuel, powering Iran's nuclear reactors, may bring the Islamic Republic significantly closer to creating a nuclear weapon. However, CNN sources did highlight that the nuclear proliferation risk is highly dependent on which reactor the fuel goes to. Also, Russia has not stated any intentions to provide the requested aid. Zelensky's predictions in an October 24 interview with Haaretz, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky touched on the exchange of weapons between the two nations, saying, "How did this alliance of theirs become possible? I will tell you, in 8 months of full-scale war, Russia has used almost 4,500 missiles against us. And their stock of missiles is dwindling. This is why Russia went looking for affordable weapons in other countries to continue terror. It found them in Iran." Zelensky continued, saying, "I have a question for you. How does Russia pay Iran for this, in your opinion? Is Iran just interested in money? Probably not money at all, but Russian assistance to the Iranian nuclear program." Concerns for Israel weapons trade between Russia and Iran has expanded significantly in the last several months, worrying members of the global community who may be future targets of such an alliance, specifically, Israel. Prime Minister Yair Lapid spoke to Russian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba about Iran's role in the war between Russia and Ukraine on October 20, and emphasized the deep concern in the military ties between Iran and Russia, according to the Prime Minister's office. In an earlier interview with the independent Russian-language news channel RTVI, Lapid said, "The relations between Iran and Russia are a serious problem not only for Israel but for Ukraine, Europe and the rest of the world. The fact that Russia is using Iranian UAVs to kill Ukrainian civilians is unacceptable. The UN, as we know it, won't survive Russia's war in Ukraine. The institutions designed to secure global order clearly aren't up to the task. What will take their place?" A few weeks ago, I posed a hypothetical to a dozen foreign policy scholars, pundits, analysts, and ex-diplomats, American and not. Imagine, I wrote, a terrible denouement to the Ukraine war, the one that stopped short of World War III. A Russian decision to use tactical nukes against Ukraine, followed by a selective NATO strike on Russian air bases, followed by a Russian attack on one of the Baltic nations, followed by a devastating air assault on Russia. My question was, in the aftermath of such a cataclysm, how would, or should, the world order be rebuilt? My question rested on several assumptions. The first is that we do, in fact, live inside a rules-based order, or liberal order, a network of norms, laws and institutions that, for all their shortcomings, govern international affairs not by raw power but by the rule of law. The second assumption is that such systems of order do not come into being because they sound like a good idea but because a catastrophe shows the existing framework to be untenable. The Napoleonic Wars led to the balance of power system known as the Concert of Europe, World War I led to the League of Nations, and World War II led to the United Nations, the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, NATO, and other regional treaty alliances. The final assumption is that our 75-year-old system is already unequal to the problems we face, the awful bloodshed, and the terror of yet worse, that my scenario envisioned would force statesmen to address that failure. In the most obvious sense, the UN Security Council has never functioned as the apex security body that Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Winston Churchill imagined it would be. Though Article 1 of the UN Charter declares state sovereignty to be inviolable, the Security Council could do nothing to stop Russia from trying to annihilate its neighbor. What is new is that, as the Biden administration's recently released national security strategy asserts, the rules-based order is itself under threat from great powers with revisionist foreign policies. That is shorthand for Russia and China, and to a lesser extent Iran. That the authors obliquely concede that many democracies outside the West in the Indo-Pacific do not share a sense of urgency about challenges to that order, at least if they come from the revisionist powers. What, then, would we do if we could? The answers I got were shaped by the author's view of the gravest problems the world would face in the aftermath of my scenario. Thus Anne-Marie Slaughter, the former Obama administration State Department official who now runs the New America think tank, wrote that she welcomed the assertion in the Biden strategy document that global crises like climate change, pandemics, or food security pose as great a threat to the world as do the revisionist states. Global problems require global institutions. Therefore, Slaughter wrote, if she could wave a wand, she would invent a Security Council with 25 members with weighted voting rather a veto, an Economic and Social Council, and a Global Information and Monitoring Council, all staffed by senior government ministers with the power to propose initiatives, like the European Union's European Commission. This UN would be both more representative, and more effective, than the one we have today. Such a UN might be able to devise and execute policy on the global issues as the current version cannot. But would the United States trust it on matters of national security in the aftermath of a close brush with World War III? That seems hard to believe. Michel Duclos, a former French diplomat and now a resident sage at the Institut Montaigne, France's leading liberal think tank, wrote that he finds the kind of scenario I suggested all too plausible. In such a case, he predicts, the Security Council would be deposited in history's dustbin, while an informal directoire, consisting perhaps of the United States, China, India, and the EU, would emerge. Others have been thinking along the same lines. Richard Haass and Charles Kupchan, President and Senior Fellow, respectively, at the Council on Foreign Relations, have suggested an informal concert of powers, with no actual executive powers but with a permanent secretariat that could engage in quiet diplomacy and sustained consultation and negotiation, much like the order hatched from the 1815 Congress of Vienna. All such plans may founder on the question of membership. Major developing world powers will feel excluded. Others may be included who ought not be. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.